Hey everybody, Chris here. Welcome back, and I am super excited today. I just got this monster in the mail. This is probably going to attract maybe a little bit of a different crowd coming in, so anybody who is unaware of who I am, my name is Chris Field. I run BioLabs and the Kronos Project, and I spend a lot of time engineering and building robotic camera platforms, as well as shooting plants for documentary series and things like that. But a lot of what I have to do involves engineering. Now, I'm no stranger to 3D printing. I've been doing this for quite some time. I've got a FlashForge Creator Pro and a Qidi Tech 1 over there that I've had for probably about 4 or 5 years, and I've just cranked out part after part after part with them. They've been absolute workhorses for me. But recently now I've got need for something that can print with better material, such as ABS, because you can do it, it's just kind of hard. They don't really have a good enclosed area. But I want to be able to do ABS, PETG, and as well as nylon. And this thing will even do carbon fiber, and it will even do BASF steel. You still have to send the part in to get it sintered, I believe is what they call it, but and also expensive as hell, so I'll probably never be doing that. But this is going to really give me a lot more capability, plus it's got a much bigger bed. So for all the photography folks who don't know a whole lot about 3D printers, this is an industrial size 3D printer, an industrial 3D printer. It's the top of the line offering from Qidi Tech. I think it's Qidi Tech, QIDI. Hopefully I got that right. I'm sure I'll be corrected if I don't at least try. But anyway, this is their top of the line printer. Now this thing retails for about $2,200, and in the realm of 3D printers, that's fairly expensive. Especially for hobbyists and stuff. But this is industrial grade, meaning you can use it for work, you can use it for production, and this is kind of chipping away at the heels, I think, or at least it's an attempt to show that a less expensive printer can be used as an industrial printer. Kind of think of the way the Blackmagic and their pocket cinema cameras and the rest of their line up against something with Red, right? Red is arguably better, but it's arguably better, and you know, Blackmagic costs a lot less. So that's kind of what I would compare this to. Now I do see some damage on this box. Hopefully everything's okay, but what we're going to do is we're going to get this thing opened up and put up in the new spot for it, and give it a test run. So here we go. Now this box has got a weird kind of like locking tab mechanism. So there's these plastic pieces that you're supposed to pull out. And that's easier said than done. Oh, here we go. I see how they work. So you squeeze the top, and it folds down, and that pops out. And that will unlock the box. So here we go. Is that it? Am I missing? Oh no, there's two more. They really got this thing secured down. All right. Now let's try it. Woo! Boy! Okay, yeah, this is just the top. There's nothing else in there. And here she is. Wow, it's big. It's gonna be awesome. Looks like the styrofoam over here did his job. It's got nice big corner guards for packing. I think they really did a good job on packing this. Okay, so that part's done. What's next? I guess we just gonna pull this out. See if it do a little bit of a shimmy with it. Okay. Okay, look at this. Inside here, I got a box and another box. Let's tell you what. Nope. we're just gonna have to leave it on the floor. Let's go ahead and bring this bad boy over. Okay, so the first box, it says 3D printing filament. It's not. It's not filament at all. Filament does not rattle like that in a box. I have a feeling this is the tools and accessories. So I'm kind of not exactly sure what to expect. It seems like a lot of things have changed with this company in the way that they pack and ship these things. At first it was, you would get it and then it would have a hot end or a hardened steel set of nozzles and then a regular non-hardened steel set of nozzles. And then you could ask and they would send you a ruby single extruder nozzle. But the way they, when I saw the other videos, it wasn't the same as this. These things were not put in a box like this. So we got power cable, scraper. These look like parts for the filament holders. Here's some parts and pieces. Quite a bit of stuff in here. Ethernet cable. Couple of short, like 8mm rods. I'm sure I'll figure out what those are for. And then screwdrivers and tools. So basically this is just tool kits and parts. And then this one is the filament, red PLA. Probably the easiest thing you can print with. All right, I'm gonna lift this up. Let's see. Ooh, I'm showing you the butt. I'll show you the front. Okay. So, time to pull the plastic off and see how she looks. Oh my God, this thing is enormous. I mean, it is so much bigger than my other printers. It's not even funny. This thing is absolutely massive compared to the other two. I knew it was going to be big, but I wasn't. It's kind of hard to know what to expect until you actually get it and see it in person. Okay. So in here, there's no manual or anything with this. So at some point there should be a manual that starts talking about the correct way to get this thing apart. Just going to pull this tape off. You got the cover. Oh wow, that feels a lot thicker than the tops on my other printers. So there's definitely gonna be a trick to getting all this stuff out. So sometimes when they pack these things, they get everything kind of puzzled in there. So let's just see what we can pull out that comes out easily. Okay. Then there's this, but it wraps around that. I'm not sure how that comes out. Is there not a instruction manual? Is there something on the other side of this? I feel there should be a manual already. I think I might have missed it. Ho-ho! Check out the big brain on Chris. We got a build plate and a manual. All right, I feel much better. I don't like trying to take this kind of stuff apart if it's not very obvious as to the correct way to do it. And, oh, something taped in here too. Just gotta check everything. People like to squirrel things away. Oh, all right, memory card or USB drive. 16 gigs, woo. Okay, now we actually have a manual. right, let's figure out how this works. I'm going to move this camera over here real quick. Let's go ahead and see what we got to do to get this thing out, huh? Guide. Okay, so I'm supposed to move one of these one direction. Oh, I see. I think. Ah! Yeah. All right, now there is something in here. Let's take a look. It's a bracket. Not sure what for just yet. All right. And this one, what does it say? Playing games. Pull those out. Extruder out to front. Oh. Here we go. Got something else in here? Anything else? No, that's it. All right, that's empty. And we got here, cool, spool holder. We keep some desiccant in there. I don't need it. I got a drying system over there that seems to work pretty good. All right, now I gotta power it up. And then I gotta raise the bed. So let's see if I have an outlet I can reach. Decided to turn this thing on. Of course, it's going to be just not long enough. Let me grab a cord. This will do it. Okay. Then, haha. Is it on? I turn it off. Oh, that's right. There is, I forgot, there's a switch back there and then a button up here. There we go. Okay. Now I gotta raise up the bed. Click on gear. It's a nice screen. Manual. Okay. Look at that. The package being delivered. My dog's going nuts. So we're just gonna hit this a couple times and see if we have enough clearance to get all this jibber jabber out. There we go. It's one, it's empty. It's two, it's empty. Three, there's definitely something in here. Okay, on this side we got glue, the old glue stick. Then here is the dual extruder. So there are two extruders with this thing. It comes with two. Now, none of this is gonna have that ruby red nozzle, which everybody talks about so much. Okay, I guess these are probably the hardened steel ones, whereas the ones on here are probably the low temp extruders. So we have an extra extruder with it, an entire extra assembly. How cool is that? And I don't know if you could see, but if you flip this back and forth, the height of these changes. Probably can't, but that's how it keeps one printer, that's how it keeps one of these extruders from, like, you know, messing up the print. I've run into that before, where on both of my Qidi Tech 1 and my Creator 4s are both dual head, and on both of them I just pulled out like an entire assembly out of it because I didn't want the two extruders, because that other tip just kept getting in the way, and also just to kind of lighten up the amount of jerking this goes around as it moves around. Removing the other extruder eliminated some of that weight. However, with this system, boy, these bearings are nice. We'll take a closer look here in a second, but that seems like that's everything. So what I'm gonna go ahead and do is I'm gonna get this thing up there, and then we're gonna finish up with it in this right spot, because I'm really excited to get this thing where it's supposed to be. Okay, I'm gonna try and get this up into this new spot. I hope it's the right size. Because I got this shelving system just for this. I used to have a larger router here, and I got rid of it because I hadn't used it in years, and this seemed like something I'd use a lot more. So I got to make sure that I do this without destroying or disturbing my ant colony too much. They're kind of sensitive, so let's give this a try. It's only 70 pounds. Whew. Yeah! What is up? Oh, this is amazing. I'm so excited. I can't wait to start using this thing. All right, and we are back, and I just got done with a really long print. I've had this machine for a few days now. I haven't really had a chance to go through everything because it's been printing a lot. You know, I get it. I want to go through and really kind of tear everything down and examine everything. But at first, you know, it's just that kid at Christmas. I just got to get this thing printing. I want to print something cool, right? So, you know, the first couple prints I did went fairly well. There was a test print, which is like this weird square in a tube thing. I'm sure it probably has a use. I don't know what that use is, and I don't really care. But it printed out very nicely using red ABS that came with this. In fact, I'm pretty sure that's ABS, whatever the red material is that came with this. And that printed really nice. I mean, they were very nice, smooth lines. They were very tiny. It took a long time for it to print, but it also printing at a much higher resolution than I am traditionally printing with my other printers. Then after that, I thought, I want to print me a dragon, because there's this dragon that, you know, people have been printing, and I'll show you that in a second. But my first round with it, the filament broke, and the problem is it broke by the head, not out past where the filament sensor is. So next thing you know, it's printing over the air, nothing's coming out, and it just kind of did that thing. It's like, all right, well, whatever, what a pain in the butt. But what happened is, and I think is that this filament has so many additives to it that it makes it a little bit more brittle. And if you look at the filament sensors on here, they are almost level with the print head. So the material comes out and then has to come up and then down into the print head. It would have been nice if they would have been able to sit those things up maybe an inch higher, maybe it'd work a little bit better. But if you're using the top spool holders, you're probably going to be fine. But I'm not using those. I don't have enough room. I have this shelf above it. And also I didn't want to use those because I want to be doing a lot of film planning or film, blah. I want to do a lot of printing with nylon. And nylon and PETG, and a lot of these will absorb a lot of moisture. They can ruin your prints. So I've got a 2-spool filament dryer up here that I can just pull everything out of. So when I put a new spool in there, I just go ahead and run a drying routine depending on what the material is, how long, and what the temperature is. So that's going to come down around the back and then come back in, and I'm using one of those tubes, a Bowden tube, in order to kind of keep the filament from getting too tight on any corners. And it seemed to work okay at first, but then it broke. And I think it's just because it was a little bit too much drag on it. It was pulling a little bit too hard, too much at an angle. So what I did was I kind of reconfigured it and changed it around so it's not going to hit that. It's a shorter Bowden tube. It's just one quick little arc out and in. Makes a big difference. Plus, printing out of the dryer versus the one that came with the iFast. That one's much easier to just pull through. In fact, the one that came with the iFast, that hole is right in the middle. I don't know why they would do that. In fact, let's take a look. You can see it here. This is where it comes out of. I don't know why, because now you're just making things more difficult, right? Like, okay, check this out. It has to come up and then out, and then it was going down into the printer. So I drilled a small hole down here so it just comes in and goes straight out. It doesn't have to go up and do this arcing around, and that definitely made an improvement. So you're going to have to be careful about that if you're not going to use the top spool holders. If you use the top ones, I'm sure they would work just fine. So that broke, and then there's also a problem with this bed adhesion. You look at that. I mean, I have tried all kinds of things to get this off, and I'll get it off. I'm not that worried about it. Plus, I have 2 other print beds, but quite frankly, this wouldn't work. I mean, this is just so on there. So I asked what other people in the Qidi Tech community are doing on a Facebook group, and so this one guy recommended to flip it around backwards and just throw some hairspray on the back. Well, I didn't do this one because it still has part of the dragon stuck to it, but I did do it with one of these, which is I got another one of these with the package, and then when I got that single head extruder, which I got around here somewhere with the ruby nozzle, it came with an extra one, so I got 3 of these now. And what I did was I just sprayed hairspray on the flat surface on the back and put it on. And yeah, it's just perfect. Now, I know that there's going to be some people out there that are like, well, you have everything dialed in perfectly. You shouldn't have to do that. It's like, well, you know what? I don't give a shit. I can throw some hairspray on it. I can add my print. I'm building structural parts, not art. This isn't a hobby for me. This is a shop tool. So this is no more a hobby for me than my CNC plasma or my CNC mill or my welder or any of this other stuff. It's not a hobby. This is a tool. I just need it to work. So I can sit there and fuss with all these speeds, and I can fuss with this, I can fuss with that, and I can spend the next 3 weeks getting it dialed in to the point where I don't have to his hairspray. Or I could just throw some fucking hairspray on it and call it a day. So that's what we're doing. So I'm really excited about this. And here is the last print I did. It finished this morning. This was 17 hours, and it's this dragon. This is what all the cool kids are printing these days. And it was $4 for the file, and it was definitely $4 worth it. I don't mind paying the money. I'm not going to be all cheap and try and rip it off. And if you're doing that, if you're just going out and finding the file, printing it without supporting the person who made this, shame on you. But the quality of this came out quite amazing, considering there are no support structures in this at all. And there are areas where it is taken more than a 45. It is just darn near printing on air, and it just worked. Now, there is a little bit of you'll take a close-up here, and you can see that there are little areas of imperfections and where the lines look a little strange, and you get some ripple effects and stuff like that. And I don't think that's supposed to be a part of it. However, it does kind of add to the scales a little bit. But I think a lot of this was just the material I used has got a lot of additives in it in order to create these shimmering colors in plastic and make it look metal. So I'd like to print this again with just something like ABS, but quite frankly, I don't have the time. So what I'm going to do, though, is we're going to start printing up some test prints. I want to test out and see how I can print with how PETG works. I want to experiment with structures. I want to experiment with nylon. I want to experiment with ABS and regular PLA. And every other material I have here, I have some TPU, and I'm pretty sure I have just some straight carbon fiber infused something. I don't know. I'm going to take a look. I ordered a ton of 3D filament. I mean, mostly in the past, what I've done with my Qidi Tech Pro or Qidi Tech 1, and then my Flash Forge Creator Pro, I just used PLA, carbon fiber infused PLA, because I had a hard time doing ABS because it's not enclosed, and it doesn't seem to work so well with it. But for PLA and carbon fiber infused PLA, it just killed it every time. So now I'm really excited to try some new things. So we're going to play around with the low temperature head for a little bit, and then I'm going to swap that out to the high temperature bed head and try that with a few things. And then I also have that ruby tip nozzle for very hard to print objects or materials. So anyway, here it is. Pretty cool. We're going to go ahead and do this, and then I'm going to do another video later where I really kind of get into the depth of this. But let's go ahead and get a couple more prints out and get a little bit more on first impressions. Okay, we're doing about an 8-day check-in. Now, I have been using this printer non-stop. It's been running pretty much overnight every single night. I'll come out in the morning and there'll be fresh new prints, and then I keep doing more prints. Now, I'm not doing a really big range of exciting stuff at this point because right now I'm in the middle of building about a dozen of these long-term capture boxes for time-lapse photography. And in order to put these things together, I've been working on building it out to a nicer, more robust system. I want a better enclosure for it. So these are some parts that I print that go on the barrel. The print quality came out absolutely fantastic. I do not have this on the finest setting. In fact, I've got it running a little bit coarse, and I made these out of PETG because these are going to be spending a lot of time outside, and they need to be able to be robust and last, where PLA is just not going to quite cut it, and even ABS will eventually break down. So PETG is definitely the better option for this. And it has a weird kind of shiny finish, but what I can't really find a problem with is the results of the print. It looks absolutely fantastic. I am very pleased with it. And I have been cranking these out nonstop. So, you know, using this thing, not everything's been perfect. I've run into a couple small things, but let's just go over a little bit about this. Now, I'm going to go over some of the things I like and dislike. One of the things I really like is we've got so many of these print heads. It's really wonderful. This is the low temperature print head that comes with it that's already pre-installed. Along with it, you get a high temperature print head, and that one I'm currently using right now, so I can't show you, but I did get them swapped out. And after swapping them, I mean, you might find that, you know, you need to do some adjustments. Up here are these two little blocks with a couple screws. They look like M3s in there, and it's an Allen wrench style. And by tweaking those, twist them, you can actually adjust the overall height of the two nozzles. It's because when I put the hot temperature one in, it was clearly not aligned very well, because if the hot one was down, it would grab the leveling paper, but if the other one was down, the left one was down, it wouldn't grab at all. And it took me a little while to figure out how to do that. I could have just gone on YouTube, but I just kind of sat there and monkeyed around with it until eventually I figured it out. Probably just best to go on YouTube if you're going to be doing that. And then it also came with this, which is fantastic. This is a ruby nozzle, but I tell you what, you can't even see it's a ruby nozzle. This thing is so dirty and gross with PETG right now. I had put this one on originally, and it immediately clogged. And I'm not exactly sure what the deal was with it or why it happened, but it did clog, and it took me quite a while to get everything unclogged from it. And then once I had that all squared away and cleaned out, it seemed to work just fine. But I needed to be able to print with two different materials. Now, like I said earlier, I've got a Qidi Tech 1, and I've got a FlashForge Creator Pro, whatever it's called. And both of them are dual head extruders. However, I never used it like that. I think maybe once, and it was a lot of problems. It was kind of weird. And plus, with the nozzles on those, they're just both at the same height. So if there's any ooze on one of them, it scrapes all over the print that you're doing, and it just causes problems. Having this little mechanism to flip one of them up and one of them down is absolutely brilliant and completely eliminates that problem. So for the first time, I've been successfully printing with two different materials. So what I'm doing is I'm doing PLA as a support structure. This was a tip I got off of the Qidi Tech a forum group or a user group on Facebook. That PLA actually makes a wonderful support material. Now, it makes a wonderful support material for sure if it's attached to the bed. I don't know how well that stuff is PLA is going to print on top of PETG, so if you need support structures between it, maybe it will work, maybe it won't. I haven't tried it yet. But I know right now it's been working wonderful in order to create that support structure, because the last time I printed something with PETG and I just used PETG as a support structure, it was almost impossible to get this crap out of there. And you got to be careful when you're working with this stuff, because believe it or not, this stuff can be sharp. And if you're trying to scrape through and get a piece off, you can easily wrap a knuckle through there and split it open. But that's one thing I really do like, is that we have three different print heads, so you have options. Now, the one with the ruby nozzle, you don't just get it. You actually have to email them, and they'll be happy to send it over. In fact, and I emailed it to them. We had a little bit of back and forth about what I wanted, because apparently they have another dual extruder that's also hot end, and I'm not sure what's different about the one that's on here, but I wanted the ruby nozzle because I want to be printing nylon, which I've not been able to do yet. I tried it unsuccessfully twice with something really small, but unfortunately I needed this for a production run, so I just had to get in production. The nylon can wait, and I'm looking forward to trying that later. Let's see, what else? Excellent bearings. The bearings on this are fantastic. You know, you take a look and you see it's not the typical kind that you get with a 3D printer. This is more in line of what you'd find in an industrial grade robot or any kind of automation. It really is a fantastic set of bearings on here. There's a large build volume, of course, which is wonderful because I want to be able to print larger structures and larger things. The build volume on this, I believe it's like 320 millimeters, I believe, by 330 tall and like maybe 250 deep. I don't know. It's a good size though, you know, so you can definitely get a lot in there. It's super quiet. I don't know if you can hear it running. I got a mic on me right now, and I can hear this, but it's very quiet, and that's because it's open. If I close this, I can't really hear much at all, especially in my workshop. In fact, I've got another printer over there, my Qidi Tech 1, which is currently building an enclosure for these, for my electronics for these boxes, and I can hear it, and it's about 15 feet away from me, and I can hear it over this, which is right next to me, so that's really nice. Like I said, the print quality seems to be fantastic. I have got no issues with it. Even when it's printing lettering along the side, you'll see that I don't see any ghosting or ripples. It just printed it. It just did a damn good job. I mean, this is really nice. I've done this with my other printers, but there's always like that ghosting and rippling. Let's see, what else? And so far, it's been really reliable. The issues that I've had with this were issues that were my own fault, my own problem. It was issues with trying to figure out how to get the bed leveled properly, playing around with the different types of build plates. I don't know where I put all the build plates. Oh yeah, here we go. So it came with one of these, and then when I got the high temperature extruder with the ruby nozzle, they gave me a second one. And I found that, you know, you can print on either side of them. Sometimes it works better to print on this side, sometimes on this side. On this side, you know, you can just put a hairspray on it, and PLA and ABS and stuff seems to stick to it really well, including PETG. I've gotten that to stick on there. But what I seem to think that works the best with PETG, especially using PLA, is to use the one that's got that big sticker on it and then just putting a bunch of glue stick stuff over it. So it seems like with each type of printing filament, you're going to have to kind of adjust and tailor. So I've just been trying to learn as I go along, but so far it hasn't been terribly difficult to get this stuff sorted out. Now, a couple bad things. All right, one, I can't get this shit to connect to my Wi-Fi for anything. I can stand it right next to it with my phone. It'll connect to the Wi-Fi. I can bring any wireless device over. It connects to the Wi-Fi. In fact, I've got a Velop mesh, okay, from Linksys. So I've got 4 of these routers that are, one's in my workshop, one's in my studio. I got one upstairs in my house and one in the basement, and they all work together and create a single mesh network. I have got tons of Wi-Fi coverage around my property. I don't know why this will not connect to it for nothing. So I did run an Ethernet cable, and that seems to work, but I mean, there's honestly, I don't think there's any point to using an Ethernet cable, because the only thing I can see is that you can send it to the computer, or you can send your print file directly to this over Ethernet, and it just takes forever. I mean, it's like 10 times faster to load it on this little drive and just bring it over and pop it in. I don't understand why you even need the wireless on it, but you do have that. So anyway, another something I didn't like is that the camera isn't really native and built into this, right? Like, you got to use this iCookie app. I don't think that's Qidi. I think they just literally have a webcam that can connect to this iCookie app, and it's just powered up in here. That camera does not seem to have anything to do with the rest of this, except for the ability to turn the camera on and off. But you can't see anything on the screen from the camera. There's no app that it sends it to. That's from Qidi Tech. It's that iCookie Cam app. So I don't know. It just, I guess it's kind of handy, but it would nice. A lot of people know I don't like apps for things, but honestly, for something like this, I would love to have an app that the camera does directly integrate with, but whatever. And also a couple times the display is bugged out a little bit. So I'd look at it and all of a sudden everything would be expanded and blown up or something, and then I just have to reset it. Now, this hasn't happened while I'm running a print, but just as I'm moving around and doing stuff, I've had it kind of wig out a little bit, but it doesn't seem to be too bad. And also one thing I don't like is, okay, it's got filament sensors to tell you if the filament breaks or if you run out of filament, right? And that's set in the back of the machine. Now, the problem is that is almost level with the print head. So the filament has to go out and then down. So if this is moving out towards the front, it's dragging that filament out and it's putting it at a very sharp bend. So I had several times when I was printing the Dragon with that like kind of a rainbow color changing PLA where it would snap, and I had to be very careful about getting how I set this up. So if you're using brittle material, that might be a problem. I honestly wish that those things were just maybe 2 inches higher. That would solve the whole thing. And now there's one thing on here that I consider to be an ugly too, and I don't understand what they were thinking when it came to the bottom of this thing and how they designed it. If you go right in under here, there is a lip. Well, there's like a little tray in the bottom, and it's got a little indent, so if something falls, hopefully it'll land in there. But I've noticed that anytime I drop a screw, it tends to bounce or something. And when I was changing out a print head, I dropped one and it fell and rolled off of here, bounced down into here, and went under to what I call the black hole. It currently probably has 2 or 3 screws, and it has at least 1 pair of tweezers in there now. And I can't see any way to get this bottom panel out immediately, or that's easy. I can't reach it from underneath. I can't get my hand around in there. I mean, I can feel the tweezers. They're right there. They're right there, but I can't get any kind of grip on them. So you got to be really careful, or something might fall down into the black hole under this thing. Anyway, so far, after 10 days of using this, I am completely thrilled with it. It's exactly what I was hoping it would be. I realize that this is one of the least expensive industrial printers, but at $2,500, which you can usually get about $2,200, I mean, this is still not cheap. I mean, you can get a lot of different printers like Enders and stuff like that for a fraction of the price of this. But the entire enclosed area here, being able to just regulate that temperature, make it so easy to print anything. So that's going to go ahead and wrap it up for this. So far, yes, I highly recommend it. It's an awesome piece. I'm going to use this in for a lot of projects. And, you know, we'll probably see more videos with this showing up in the future. Anyway, I hope this was informative and you like it. If I very well may do a more full in-depth review on this thing, but one of the things about that stuff is that that stuff takes a lot of time to organize it. It takes a lot of time to film it and edit and cut it together, and sometimes I just don't have time. Like the last few days, I have been busy blasting parts out with my plasma, cleaning them up, powder coating them, getting this build going. This thing has been invaluable to me so far, and the build has made my life a hell of a lot easier. I couldn't imagine printing out as much of this stuff as reliably with the other 2 printers. They generally do pretty good, but this thing has just been a rock star. So highly recommend it. Hope you enjoyed it. If you like this kind of stuff, make sure to like and subscribe and all that bullshit. And until then, peace out.